So here's the inner race on that pulley, the bearing. There's the outer race. So it lost all its ball bearings. This is the Crown Vic compressor, and this electromagnet's in good shape, but it is way smaller than the F150 one. So it looks like out of all these parts, the only thing that's going to be interchangeable is this clutch hub from the Crown Vic to the F150, which I definitely need. But I'll have to scare up a bearing and a new electromagnet. Well, I looked online, and a new coil for this compressor is $50. And that's not going to happen because a new Four Seasons compressor with the clutch is $120. So there's no point spending $50 on trying to resurrect this old thing. What I'm going to try to do is pull this one off and see if it's salvageable. Maybe we can do a little R&R to it and bring some life into it. So obviously right now I'm pulling it, and I think it's off. Yep, you better look at that. So this outer insulation is wasted. That would be the varnish. So we're going to find out if the windings are destroyed or not. Okay, so what we're going to start by doing is making sure we still have continuity in the windings. Which we do. Then we'll make sure we don't have continuity between the windings and the chassis. Nothing there. Okay, so this thing's probably still functional. What I'd like to do is carefully remove this burnt varnish and recoat it after cleaning it up. Alright, I very carefully pried out all the old varnish. A couple big chunks came out, and then a lot of little stuff. And then I took it out to the parts washer and cleaned it up. Now, unfortunately, when some of that old stuff came out, it did peel off some of the outer insulation on the tops of these windings. Now, that won't be a problem as long as they don't interact with each other. And when I put a new coat of varnish on there, that should seal it up satisfactorily. But you can see it did peel enough off to where well, I was getting continuity. Oh, help if I turn it on right. So we're good there still, and we still don't have anything against the body. So that's all testing out good. but we can get some continuity out of that. But as long as they don't short out on each other, or even more importantly on the body, it should be functional. In fact, we can do a little test here. So, energized, we should have a big electric magnet here. These Chinese leads, they're garbage. Nothing. I think that's my last one too. I'm going to get some real wire and some real clips and make some real test leads. Okay, let's try it again. Oh yeah. Almost pick it up, but then I lose continuity over here. There we go. Oh. So it definitely is still functional. So I'm going to let it finish drying out and hunt up some kind of varnish to cover that up with and reinstall it. I want to add to something I was talking about earlier, just to clarify it. When I said I took this to the parts washer, my parts washer just has that cheap Harbor Freight cleaner in it, that stuff that's non-toxic and not very useful and saves the world or some nonsense. And so it doesn't have any mineral spirits in it or anything harsh that will ruin the varnish or the insulation that's on the windings. If you have regular parts cleaner, don't do that. Use a brake cleaner, non-chlorinated brake cleaner, and clean it up and then dry it out really well. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to hook up this power supply to those windings and let that cook for a while. That'll cook out any of the solvent that's still down in there, and then when I get ready to spray with the varnish on here, that'll help get inside all the pores and everything too. So that's the plan. Of course, I have to find some leads that actually work. Okay, I just borrowed the leads off of my multimeter. Hopefully they're up to the task. I'll have to keep an eye on them if they get too warm. Could probably turn that down a bit. Okay. And that's the setup, and we'll let it cook for a while. Okay, I've had the power supply running for a while. got this thing good and warm. So while it's cooking, I'm going to spray some lacquer in there. Let it cook in real good, and then turn the power supply off, and after it cools off a bit, I'll put another layer on there. Final cold coat. After that dries, it'll be ready to go back in. Got the coil back in place, and I was able to rob the bearing out of the pulley assembly on the Crown Vic compressor. So I have that installed on this pulley assembly. Sometimes these slide on, sometimes they don't. This one's not going to be one of them. Okay, I got to do tapping. That wasn't bad. Once I got it started a little bit, it slid on. Just get the snap ring on there now. And now the replacement hub. I think I'm going to have to put an extra shim behind this new hub. I don't got much air gap at all between the hub clutch and the pulley clutch surface. But everything's on there. Compressor's compressing. So with any luck, have a working compressor now. Well, this thing's kind of stalled right now. My heads, the machine shop got back to me, and the heads need rebuild, which is not in the budget. So I'm looking at a deal that could potentially give me 2 good used heads. So until that goes through, I won't be able to do any more engine work on this. I did start cleaning the deck surfaces a little bit. Got some more to do there. They wanted almost $30 for a shim kit for one of these things, and all it is like 4 or 5 different thicknesses and thin washers so you can get your air gap set right. So I opened up another compressor and pulled the shim out of it and put it in here. Now we're not touching. I got an air gap of 20 thousandths, and you're good for up to 30 on this compressor. So that's looking nice. And this is the tool that you use when you're timing it. It registers on the crank here and on this dowel pin. And when it fits up like that, that means your number one piston's at top dead center, and that's when you set your timing, when you adjust the camshafts to the 11 and 12 o'clock position, and then you can put the timing chains on. So with that in place, one's at top dead center and 6 is at top dead center. The rest of them are below deck. And so that means the cams do have to be clocked properly before you put the heads on. Otherwise you could possibly interfere with those two particular pistons. A viewer reminded me in the original video I posted on this truck that the oil filter adapter to block gaskets, another way coolant gets introduced into the oil. Now we've already verified on this engine it was a bad head gasket, but I figured since I'm this far into it, it makes sense to change that anyway, because it is a high fail gasket on modular engines, the 4.6s and the 5.4s. So I replaced that yesterday, and looks like it was a good thing I did, because this thing's pretty crispy. It wasn't missing that section, that just came apart when I pulled it out, but yep, so that's a good thing I did that. And then today I am going to replace the oil pump again. While I'm this far into it, there'd be no point in leaving that one in here. This one actually sustained some chain damage. It didn't compromise it, but it whacked it. But I'm not really going to be able to film that because I don't have a third hand yet. And front part's fairly easy because there's 3 8mm bolts, one here, one here. I won't need the tool on for that, obviously. One there, one there. The 2 that are a little tricky are down here where the pickup tube is. There's one up front and then one back here. So I'll be struggling with those for the next few minutes, and I'll bring you back when I got that thing out. I got those pickup tube bolts out. It wasn't terrible. This is the wrench you want to do that with. It's an 8mm gear wrench head with a flex head on it. That allows you to get in, particularly that back one, and pull it down. Just be careful not to drop it into the oil pan. So now it should just walk off of there. I'm going to need a second hand though, so I can hold the pickup tube down while I pull that off. I'll bring it back. There it is. Just had to push down on that pickup tube here to where it'd get enough clearance over the top of that, and then it just slides off. There's 2 flats on the register here, one there, one on the other side. That will line up. With these parts on the driven gear on the new pump when I put it in there. So really a rather easy, well, this one's a coolant pump now. There we go. A little bit of antifreeze. But yeah, not too bad considering, you know, for an oil pump. You don't have to drop the oil pan or pull the engine or anything. New oil pump is in place. I'm about to torque it down. These spec at 89 inch-pounds. Snug them down a little before I torque. Oh, that one's already there. Okay. That rear bolt on that oil pickup is not fun. And I did drop it twice into the oil pan, but was able to fish it out. But it takes quite a while to get the thread started on that. And even then, it's just a little bit at a time getting it in. These are supposed to be at 89 inch-pounds also, but you can't get a torque wrench in there, so just snug them up. You're not going to get a whole lot of leverage from that little wrench anyway. So that's going to be it for a little while. I'm waiting on the replacement heads to come in, so I think this is about all I can do until those show up. So I'll go ahead and post this and stay tuned for another part when I get the heads. Thanks for watching.